friend. Before we start, I would like to mention that this video was not requested by anybody because it just wasn't, okay? So, what is it, you may ask? We're going through this little guy. Let's give all our attention to my hands and my phone, shall we? I don't even know anymore. There will be timestamps for every section in this video. You can just skip ahead to whatever section you want to watch or watch the entire video. I will thank you. My analytics will thank you. The algorithm will thank you. But like if you want to skip to something, you have the tools to skip.
This is what my phone looked like before the whole metamorphosis. I basically proceeded to remove every single app from the home screen, except for the few that I wanted to have easy access to. Let me tell you that this took a long time. I guess that's what happens when you spend months not caring about what your phone looks like, because I never even bothered with placing them properly. I was left with 12 apps, the 12 that I wanted to easily have access to, and everything else was in my app jar. To proceed with the customization, first of all, you have to have a theme. I wasn't sure what to go for, but I wanted something that was minimalistic and with neutral tones. I didn't want to go for black and white because that's what I've had almost the entire time I've had my phones. So I decided to go for brown or tan. And I was just looking for some images for inspiration for the theme and also for the color palette. This process is honestly as long as you make it. Doesn't have to be so long, or it can be. You don't even have to use this. You can also just go on a color palette website and get it there. So I wanted to use Procreate in order to make my own icons, but I realized that I didn't really have the talent necessary for that. So I ended up making them all on Canva. My icons ended up being a little weird and not really descriptive of the app that they're representing, but I kind of like the result. What you want to do once you have your icons and you have your theme is you want to go on the shortcut app, and to create a shortcut, you're going to look for the open app shortcut, then you're going to select your app, and you're going to give it a name and save that, and then you're going to click on the shortcut and share it. And then you can change the icon to whatever you want. So I just picked this random one and then next, and then I was done for the icon. So I did the same exact step 12 times. This part probably took the longest, but it was worth it in the end. And so here are all the apps. And now I selected the background, which is just a color. This is the general theme that we have at this point. The next step you want to do is you want to open Widgetsmith. And I wanted to have the step tracker on my home screen. So that's the first thing that I did. I went with a pretty classic theme that somewhat matched the aesthetic of my phone's home screen. It's not a perfect match, but I really can't be bothered to change it. So this is what I used, and it's not working. It never worked, so that's great. And so this is the final result. If you see, there's two other images that also were done through Widgetsmith. You can just select the picture and then add it to your home screen. I quite like it.
So you've pretty much already seen the customization on my phone, like how it looks like. But still, we're gonna take a few seconds to go over the home screen and then we go for the apps. It's really straightforward. I kept 12 apps on my homepage and they all have a purpose. There is Anki, Notion, Dictionary, Papago, email, stocks, map, music, and in my dock there is my car app, then there is the YouTube Studio app, Safari, and then KakaoTalk. So I based my entire phone design philosophy around the fact that you want to create friction between you and the thing you want to not do. So if I don't want to go on Instagram, I want to create friction, which means either deleting it, but that's not going to happen. So just not having it on my homepage means that I have to do this and type it, or, well, not mine is here, but, or then swipe and then find Instagram here. Annoying. So I don't use it as much. That's what we want. So which apps do I want to use the most? Anything that has to do with learning or like life, I guess. So as you can see, there's not really any distractions on the screen, and also the fact that I changed all the icons to something that's not really recognizable means that I tend to not want to use my phone. It looks really nice though. Well, in my opinion, you might think it's ugly, but like I think it looks decent. So it's satisfying to open, but then it kind of creates the same effect as putting grayscale for me, except it doesn't ruin my entire phone experience. So we're winning here. Now for the apps. Let's start with the productivity apps. First one I'm going to talk about is Forest, which you probably know it, you probably use it. It's very straightforward. You see a tree, you see the wheel, you pick a time, you pick a tree. I don't really have any varieties, so I use this one. The time adds up and then time adds up. Okay, that's the entire app. It blocks my phone, which I don't really like, to be completely honest. I don't use my phone when I study, and like if I do, it's to reply quickly to a text. It doesn't break my concentration, and especially because I use my phone as a tool, especially when I study Korean, I don't like it being locked. I'm actually using it right now because I'm working on a little project. You will hear more about it in May, I believe. So it's gonna be in a while, but I don't want to spoil it because I also don't know if it's gonna work yet, so we'll see. One great thing about it, if you don't know, is you can plant a real tree. I don't have points for that, and it's probably not gonna happen that soon because I do want to buy myself some fake trees in the app first. I made this account so I could share it, so if you want to add me on Forest so you can compete against me and see if you're studying more than me, this is my email, this is my name. You can just add me. I don't want to share my personal email address on the internet. That is for my teachers and friends and all the subscription website I've ever registered to, and also Facebook, so probably the entire FBI to know. But if I can reduce the amount of people who knows it by like 1, I will. Okay, now next app for productivity. I talked about it, it's on my homepage, Notion. Woo! It's the only app that I have on my phone that is in light mode. I'm not kidding. I use dark mode for everything. Ever since it came out, my computer, my iPad, the entire phone, everything is in dark mode. But like Notion's dark mode is ugly. Like look at this. It's awful, and it makes my entire weekly agenda template look like trash. So I just leave it in light mode. It hurts my eyes at night, but it's okay. We're gonna accept it. That's pretty much it for productivity apps. I don't use anything else. I use Notes sometimes, the Notes app, because I find it easier to use than Notion. And like if I want to write something quickly, I'm gonna go on the Notes app, but then it doesn't really happen nowadays. And now let's switch to language apps. There is a lot more, but it's because they're not like strictly language learning apps. I actually only have one language learning app. Well, I had 2, but then one disinstalled because I had never used it. Anyways, I have Naver Dictionary, obvious reasons. When I watch a drama, when I watch a YouTube video, when I read, I use it. I Google the word and I read all the definitions. So if you take the first one on my recent search, you can have like the hanja, you have also the definition, you have examples. Apparently it sucks compared to the Japanese version. I can't compare because I do not speak Japanese yet, but just having the examples and the little description is good enough for me right now. If I need more, I just go somewhere else, but most times I'm okay with this. The next app that I use is Papago, which once again, translation app like Google Translate, except it's way better for Korean. So if, for example, I would type a text here, it would tell me the Korean version of it. And if you needed the formal version, which I really don't know why you would, because no one just says type a text to someone, even less to a person that's requiring you to address them in formal language, but whatever. You can press the honorific button, which is really useful when you are trying to speak to a Korean person and have to use formal language. The next one that I use is Webtoon. This app is pretty straightforward. We all know what it does. This is the part that is super intimidating for people. Reading native content. When you watch dramas, you have subtitles. When you watch YouTube videos, you also have subtitles. When you read webtoons, there are no subtitles. If you're just getting started with Korean, I would recommend you this specific webtoon. It's called Penguin Loves Mev, and it is using really basic vocabulary. If you look at the first episode, the vocabulary is quite simple. There are not that many words either, so if you need to look up every single one of them. It's not gonna take you 3 hours, it's gonna take you maybe 10 minutes. And you're gonna learn a lot of vocabulary. They're even using English a lot, you know? So it's a really easy webtoon. There's a lot of episodes too. They have 813 episodes. So there's a lot of content. I would really suggest you to read it. Even if you're at the intermediate level, I still think that having a read that's really easy to understand is gonna boost your confidence a little. I find that when we're learning languages, we're really trying to push ourselves towards the next level rather than just enjoying the level we're at right now. And I don't know about you, but sometimes it makes me feel a little incompetent. So being able to read a webtoon like this that's so simple and easy makes me feel like I actually know more than I do, and makes me like appreciate how far I've come. Because I first read this one when I barely knew any grammar and any vocabulary. So now to be able to actually go through it and understand everything without even having to look up anything feels amazing. Obviously, there are plenty of webtoons. If you just go on the main page, you can pick a day of the week and see what's coming out, what came out, or whatever, and just read anything that you find interesting. So the last one is for Mandarin. It's called HSK Online. When you open the app, you can pretty much pick your level, so you can choose the level you want to practice. I've learned enough content to pass HSK 2, I think, when I was taking my classes at university. However, I've forgotten everything. So I'm gonna start with HSK 1, and then you can learn some vocabulary and then learn some grammar. There's drills and special training. It's limited to 5 minutes a day for free members. I don't know if I'm gonna buy it yet because I have my own technique to learn it, but I'll see. Maybe it's gonna be more necessary now that I'm not taking a class. I'll see how it goes. I guess the story is over. If you're curious to know about everything that's on my phone, then let me know in the comments down below. Maybe I'll make a video about that, but you have to let me know first. I hope you enjoyed this video. There's so much snow outside, and it's snowing even more, and like the bus and the car can't pass at the same time because there's too much snow. Like they would scratch each other if they did. Wow. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and give it a thumbs up, and subscribe, and leave a comment and do these things, and I will see you very, very soon in the next video.